Oh, and thanks once again for joining us on Punters Inside Run. I'm joined by Mick Sharkie as always. Hello, Shark. How are you, mate? You've just
I'm good, Matty.
Non-stop.
Yeah, I'm really well. How are you? It's a challenging card, I think, at both Flemington and Randwick this weekend. But, as usual, trying to isolate a couple. And I think there's one at Flemington at a big price too we might be able to have a bit of a play with.
All right, we'll get to that shortly. A lot of people ask me this time of year, it's sort of that flat time before we get into the spring. We got to get through this period while the good horses are back in work, but not just yet at the races. But we do have what I'm going to call the Deane Lester. You can call it the Deane Lester Flemington Cup, but hopefully in the future it's just called the Deane Lester, over 2,800 metres. And I reckon if you look at the weather outside today and tomorrow, I reckon it might be the omen bet of the day.
Yeah, that's it. The favourite in the Deane Lester Flemington Cup is mostly cloudy, number 8. And yeah, I reckon he's ready to win. Matty, he's got that sort of profile like a horse that's screaming for the 2,800 metres. He's won 3 or 4 over the trip in the UK. He went on a bit of a winning spree up there, actually, before it being purchased and brought to Australia. His last run at Rose Hill behind Faulkner Park. He's a horse that I think will win a group race over the spring,
sure.
Maybe towards a Metropolitan. That was a really good run. Comes back to this grade, tumbles down the handicap. He carried 61 there, and he's on the minimum here with 54. It's just right race. And wouldn't it be fitting too if Jai McNeil, who had such a great relationship with Deane Lester, was able to win the inaugural running of the Deane Lester Flemington Cup?
Yeah, I think that's one of those pointers towards this horse, isn't it? That Jai McNeil is such an accomplished rider over the distance, isn't he? He's a very patient rider. We've seen that in Melbourne Cups before, and I think it's perfect. I think it's the bet of the day as well, mate. Mostly cloudy, getting to that 2,800. But it is a pretty tricky card, and I guess the quaddie's going to be pretty difficult. We might have to get a bit wide there. But what else have you found at headquarters?
Look, good luck to anyone playing the quaddie. It is diabolical. Those last 3 legs, oh, my God, not for me, not for me. I'm going to actually focus on the two-year-old races. I think the opening race is an absolute ripper. Exploring won a Blue Diamond Prelude, ran 10th in a Golden Slipper, and it's $10.
It's 10-1.
So that tells you how deep this race is. There's a horse that Matt Laurie has called Archo Nacho, won on debut by default, I guess, on protest at Werribee. It was off the map in that race. I think it opened about $7. It jumped odds on. Just like a drunk sailor in that heavy track there, wandering around all over the place, then got knocked over, still was chasing and finding the line. I think on better ground we'll see the real Archo Nacho, and I know Matt Laurie thinks this is a stakes horse for the early part of the spring. So I think he's a great each-way play, race 1, number 4, early in the day. Then we move on to race 5, the Biley, for the 2-year-olds that probably have Derby and Oaks aspirations later in their careers.
Yep.
Tough race with a couple coming through a small field. Gibson Carmichael, they're the obvious. A couple of debutants in the race. Moods is sneaking a Z out for its first start. John Sadler's pretty shrewd though, and I reckon this horse, Thin Red Line, has more ability than the market suggests. Jump outs have been really good. He's been back in the field, sort of working home, but under a really good hold. He's by Highland Reel, so he's certainly bred to get this distance and further. I saw sort of $18, $19 about this horse, and I thought that was well and truly worth a little each-way dabble in what is essentially, like a maiden and last start maiden winners race. I don't think any of these are really screaming, stakes horse at this point of their life. So not much between these. I don't think it's that bad a kickoff point, albeit first start at Flemington over 1,800 for Thin Red Line.
All right, Thin Red Line is the value bet of the day. I tend to agree with you that Exploring is over the odds. I'll probably be having something on that in the first race, away from those first starters that have been very well spruiked. But that's Flemington and a pretty tricky day. I seem to be having more success in Sydney at the moment. We're back to Randwick, as we often are, at the same time as Flemington. And I reckon there's a couple of good ones at Randwick we can back.
Yeah, me too. I wonder if we've landed on the same horses this week as we did last week.
Yeah.
Didn't get the job done last week, but yeah, as you say, I think they're smaller fields and maybe the form's just playing a bit more truly in Sydney. Race 4, number 7, Louisville.
Yep.
Chased home a couple of really good horses this time round. Time Quest at Newcastle going back to May. Time Quest has come to Sandown and won really impressively, and then just had no luck earlier in the week there.
Just got too far back.
Yeah, exactly. The Warwick Farm win following Newcastle was good. Covered ground there and got the job done. Went to Randwick. looked like he was just needing a run, got out, started to blend into the race, and Aristona's just dropped on him. But Louisville was very strong late. I think all this horse wants is a step up in trip, and he gets that 16 to 1800. So I think race 4, number 7 is a great bet. The other bet that I want to have in Sydney is race 6, number 7, Vienna Princess. Now, if you're on this horse last start, it was an absolute heartbreaking watch. Just bailed up behind horses in a small field, couldn't get out. She would have probably won the race had she have seen clear air. Gets a second chance to account for that, I guess, this time around. Another small field, 1,400 metres, drawn 8, so she's going to have that room to move and blend into the race. Her win prior at Rosehill was very good. I think they're the two standout bets in Sydney, Matty. What about you?
I'm with Louisville as well, but I went back to watch that Vienna Princess replay time and time again, but I also kept going back to watch Cosmic Minerva for Bjorn Baker. Yeah. So for me, it's a 2-bet strategy. I'm going to back both, and I think I've got it covered in that race. I think they're the only 2 horses can win that race. I was tossing up which way to go, but I think they're the ones for me for Randwick.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's a short and not short, but favourites. They're the 2 that stand out to me that you really need to isolate.
Yep. All right, mate. Thank you as always. Happy punting. What's plan? Are you throwing the line in on the weekend?
I got some trout from Eildon Pondage during the week, Matty. So I've got a bit of a smoking session going on Saturday to get those fish cooked up and bagged and sorted out and drop a few around to some neighbours. But I might go to the footy and watch the Kangas and the Hawks on Sunday. Take my daughter along and give them a cheer.
It's a game they can win. I'm actually going to head to Flemington and have a look at the races with a couple of friends. But thanks, Shark, as always.
Good on you, Matt.
And thank you for joining us on Punters Inside Run. I hope you find a winner. We'll see you next week.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.